Hi guys, lesson 3 for 6-8 here. This one should actually go pretty fast because this is mostly just more practice with what you've already been working on. So, reminders again, make sure you have out your SAB, make sure you have your homework and remembering journal nearby, and a pencil that's sharp and ready to go. So we're going to start with 6-8. You can go ahead and open up to that page. And just like it says at the top of the page, this is just going to be some more multiplication practice for you. So the directions say write each fraction as a sum of unit fractions. Remember, unit fractions means 1 over your denominator, and as the product of a whole number and a unit fraction. So let me show you that example of number 1, and then I'd actually love for you to pause to try 2 through 4. So on number 1, it says 4/7 equals, so we're going to show that with addition first. So that asked us to add using up our unit fractions, and that means that I basically have 4 groups of 1/7. So then the bottom part of number 1 now wants you to do that same problem, but this time use your multiplication skills to show that that's 4 times 1/7. Go ahead and pause, try out 2, 3, and 4, and then before you hit play, I'll have some answers written down for you. So go ahead and hit pause here. Try 2 through 4. And now that you're back, this is going to be a half, plus a half, plus a half, plus a half, plus a half. But 5 halves also equals 5 times your 1/2. 2/3 would be the same as 1/3 plus 1/3, or 2 times 1/3. And then finally for 6/4, that's going to be the same as adding up 1/4 6 different times. And then also the same as doing 6 times your 1/4. All right, let's move on to the next section. This one wants you to draw a model. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a model for number 5. I'm going to ask you to pause and draw your own model for number 6, and then that way I won't make you draw any more models the rest of the lesson, okay? So let's look at number 5 first, 6 times 1/4. Well, I do want to show that. In order to show my 1/4, I need to draw first, and if I draw 1 square, that's going to allow me to have 1, 2, 3, 4/4, but this problem specifically asks me to have 6/4. So I'm going to have to draw another set of fourths, and then I'll be able to shade 2 more. And then 6 times 1/4, that will show me my answer of 6/4. So pause real quick. Try to do the same thing. Number 6 is actually kind of a tricky one, so try that with a model real quick. See if you can figure that out. Okay, now that you've had a chance with that, this one's a little bit trickier to draw, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw 1 box at a time, knowing that I'm going to have to draw a whole bunch, but I think I'm going to start there. So I'm going to draw rectangles, and this tells me that my rectangles need to be in groups of thirds. And so far when I've do this one, my first group of 2/3 I'll shade in green. And you can tell I can't shade in another group of 2/3, so I need to draw another rectangle and cut it into thirds before I can then try to shade another group of 2/3. So that was one group of 2/3. Here's another group of 2/3. I'm going to go back to green for another group of 2/3. And so far I've only shaded in 3 groups of 2/3. So I need to draw another rectangle. And I can actually already tell that I'm going to need 2. So I'm going to save myself some time by doing that. Cut them up into thirds. And now let's get back to shading. I should have blue next. So this is 1 group of 2/3, 2 groups of 2/3, 3 groups of 2/3. This is going to be my 4th group of 2/3, my 5th group of 2/3, and then finally my 6th group of 2/3. So how much does that equal in total? That will actually equal 4 wholes. So let's actually do that work real quick to see how that works with just the multiplication piece. Third would have been my denominator because that never changes. And then I would have done 6 times 2. Well, what is 6 times 2? That is 12. And then if I were to actually solve that, 12 divided by 3 is 4. So that totally works. All right, I made you a deal. You don't have to draw any more models, so you can finish 7 and 8 on your own. I'm going to jump down here to the second part of that page, which asks you simply to multiply. It says, multiply, write your answer, as a mixed number or a whole number when possible. So these directions are specifically telling you that you have to change to a mixed number. So let's look at number 9. We're not going to worry about making a model. We're just going to simply solve. This is telling me that I have 20 groups of 3/10. Well, we know that that means that your denominator is going to stay the same. I'm going to be working in tenths. And all I have to do now is take my numerator, which is 3, and multiply it by however many wholes I have. I have 20 whole groups of tenths. So 20 times 3 is going to be 60. Well, that's pretty easy to do. 60 divided by 10, you just get rid of those, and that means that your answer would be 6. So I'm going to help you with number 10, and then I'm going to pause and make you do the same thing we did earlier. You're going to solve 11 through 14 on your own. But let's look at number 10 first. I have ninths as my denominator, and then I actually need to do 36 times 5. Well, that's not something I know how to do in my head. So I'm going to come over here and do 36 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 3 is 18. So that's going to be 180. So at first that seemed like this problem would be pretty hard, but now when we really look at it, this is just simply 18 divided by 9 would be 2, and then we tack that 0 back onto the back. So your answer there would be 20. Do me a favor, solve 11 through 14 by pausing the video, and then you can come back and check your answers. I'm just going to rapid fire show you the answers when you come back. So, our answers for these problems are 4/12. We also have 7, 6, and 7 and 7/10. Those would be the answers to those 4 problems. The rest of your activity today is mostly just going to be some word problems that you're going to try and solve on your own. So let me do one of these with you, and then the rest I want you to just jump in and try to figure out on your own. This one does want you to draw a model, but I already promised you. You don't have to draw any more, especially if it's not helping very much. So you're going to solve each problem, and it does tell you very specifically, it wants you to write your answer as a mixed number or a whole number. So we're going to look at them. I'm going to give you a hint. We've mostly been doing multiplication, so it seems to me like these problems are probably going to be multiplication problems. So this says, number 15, Michelle has 3 textbooks, and each weighs 5/8 of a pound, and we want to know the total weight of her textbooks, excuse me. So that's going to be 3 groups of 5/8. So good news, your denominator is going to stay the same, which is 8ths, and then you've got 3 times 5, which is 15. So my answer would be 15/8, however it told me I have to make it a mixed number. So I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 8 go into 15? And it's going to go in exactly 1 time, which would be 8/8. So I'm going to get rid of that 8. 15 minus 8 would be 7, so my answer is going to be 1 7/8. So that means that the total weight is 1 7/8 pounds. All right, so the rest of the problems you guys are going to try on your own today. So I'm going to come down here to your options for lessons. Number 1, like I said, you can go back and finish 6-8, which is pages 219 and 220. Another option is to just simply finish the homework and remembering pages for 6-8. Or finally, you could go to IXL, you could check the weekly plan, and you could see if that's a way that you want to show your understanding. Okay, log into our Zoom calls if you need any help, and if you need answers to those other word problems to check to see if you did it correctly, you could always email me, and I'd be happy to tell you the answers. All right, guys, good luck.